Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soul Livity TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to feel the love, peace, and happiness that exists within you? Then the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, my guests and I explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices that can help you to realign with the happiness within you. The happiness principle for today's show is happiness is giving. Caring about others and ourselves is an essential key to our happiness. The emotions felt in giving and receiving are reciprocal. When we give to others, we also receive so much in return. The happiness felt in exchange for when we give explains why it feels so good to us when we do. Science has proven that helping others boosts happiness. It activates regions of the brain associated with pleasure, social connection, and trust, creating a warm glow effect that explains why it feels so good to give. Scientists explain that altruistic behavior releases endorphins in the brain, producing the positive feeling known as helper's high. Those who volunteer tend to have better mental health, feeling less depressed and anxious than those who receive help. In addition, giving has been proven to increase the satisfaction and longevity of our lives. Helping others can give us a purpose. When we know that what we are doing is helping to make a positive difference in the lives of others, it provides a sense of meaning in our own life. Kindness increases feelings of competence and improves our mood. For example, teens who volunteer feel better about themselves, are socially more connected with others, and do better in school. And while we are engaging in helpful activities, our minds can focus on things other than our own problems, which in turn reduces stress. When we are on the receiving end of kindness, it inspires us to be kinder ourselves. Like the Pay It Forward movement, it helped to create a ripple effect of kindness acts worldwide. The act of repaying the kindness to others continues to pass along the practice of helping one another, thus creating a social movement that makes the world a better and happier place. And science has shown that happier people are more likely to be interested in or be inclined towards helping others, which creates an endless cycle of happier people doing helpful and kind things for how it makes them feel and how it impacts others. Giving invokes a feeling of gratitude. Whether you are giving a gift to someone to express gratitude or feeling grateful as the recipient of the gift, feeling gratitude helps us to feel happier. This is because research has shown that gratitude is directly correlated with happiness. Feeling grateful for our blessings and expressing gratitude to others increases our joy, positivity, and sense of connection to others. Therefore, the benefits of giving extend far past the giver and receiver, where kindness has the potential to be felt in communities all around the world. With that being said, I'd like to welcome my first guest on the show. She's an author, podcaster, emotional wellness specialist, and joyful living teacher. Anne Scotland, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
So, Anne, maybe we could start off with you telling us a little bit about your story that led you to do the work that you're doing today.
Yes. Long journey to get to becoming an emotional wellness specialist, to specializing in joy and happiness, which is what brought me to you. Um, I had a very unusual growing up, unusual childhood, very atypical American childhood, which was I grew up in a very right wing religious organization, lived way out in the country, um, didn't really have an exposure to anyone. I was homeschooled till I was about 15 and a half. So very limited social interaction, no movies, no television, long dresses, the whole nine yards. And it was interesting because I was firstborn, type A, Capricorn, whatever you want to take away from that. And I figured, well, whatever, I will just be the best at what I can be in my environment. And honestly, I didn't know any different either, which just makes it a little bit unusual. So I just went for it all out. I embraced everything. I just decided I will, we all want attention. I'll get attention from being as good as the adults. I'll be on attention as being more pious than everybody else. Um, but when you talk about happiness and joy, one of the things that sort of started coming through to me was that part of the religious experience was you're really expected, if you were successful in your religious experience, you're expected to be joyful. And if you were unsuccessful, that's the only reason you would be sad. So I learned to put on a very joyful face those during those many years, but I didn't always feel that way inside. Inside, I felt inauthentic, disconnected. I dealt with a lot of depression. And as my life evolved and changed, and I slowly, very slowly made my way out of that lifestyle and more into the mainstream, one thing I decided was that I wanted to dedicate my life to finding joy myself. And then when I did, to share that with others and just show them how simple it can be. It's not as far off as you might think.
Mhm. Yes, that is very similar to my endeavor as well, is to try to have that I've been on my happiness journey for 10 years now and trying to do some of the same work that you're doing. So today's show, you and I, both happiness and joy specialists, let's say, or experts, are going to hash out the principle happiness is giving. And so I wanted just to start off by hearing your thoughts on what you think of this principle.
Happiness is giving. Yes, I absolutely agree. Happiness is giving. If you want to build happiness and joy in your life, now hopefully I'm not conflicting with anyone else's curriculum here, but I disagree with people who say that you have to have it before you can give it away. I have seen in my life and in the lives of a lot of people I've worked with that you can even be low on happiness. You can be running low on happiness. You're not just blissed out, right? And
Mhm.
you're really bummed out, you're depressed, you're low, and you're like, well, how can I give it away? I don't even have it. Well, I find that if you manufacture some and share it, that it really comes back to you. So when you're having a bad day, the last thing we feel like doing, but what's not that hard to do, is to do something nice for someone else who might be having a bad day, or encourage someone else who just needs a phone call or a Zoom call, or just lend a helping hand to a stranger at the grocery store, anything. When you share that little bit of happiness, when you share it, it comes back to you. I say joy is a boomerang and it just comes back.
Mhm.
The more you give, the more you get. Now, not everyone is going to be happy to receive what you're giving, but most people will. And your takeaway is usually an improvement in your overall wellness, in your emotional temperature for the day. It really is the best way to grow joy.
Mhm. Absolutely. It is actually law that it's in the giving do we receive. So it's exactly as you said that in those times when we're not feeling it, we will actually feel it when we give first. So it people think that they have to wait to receive first in order for them, as you said, to feel like some kind of initiative, let's say, to then spur them to want to give. But it doesn't work like that. That it works in that we have to do the giving first and then we'll receive. So yes, it's important that we kind of muster up whatever feelings or courage or whatnot in order for us to give of ourselves first. And then it's in that process that we end up receiving. It's true.
Absolutely.
I also,
Absolutely.
I also loved what you said about that boomerang. That's a really great, I guess, ideology to think about or metaphor to look at giving.
Yeah, it is. It is. It and I just love it that you don't have to be in a perfect place to do this. And how I started learning this, I've traveled to over 40 countries and talked and interacted with people from all walks of life. I've done do humanitarian work and other things as well. And I just noticed that no matter what, when someone is happy or laughing and engaging with you, it doesn't matter their circumstances, it's still contagious. It still makes you smile and laugh. It still makes you respond in the same way. So it really has so much less to do with what you have or what your job is or who your significant other is or if you have the latest car or any of those things that we've been kind of
Mhm.
traditionally programmed is sort of the byproduct of happiness, and realize that it's something deeper, it's something that connects us all as human beings. It's really a birthright that we were all born with. We're born with joy, and when we connect to that instead of obsessing about all our differences, we can still be different. That's beautiful. That's the way we are made. But when you connect to those similarities, you can really raise the level of joy and happiness in your environment and in your world when you commit to that and focus on that instead of what makes us all different, what we have to fight about.
Yes, yes. And that also comes with an understanding that the universe is abundant. That when we give is we have that belief in abundance versus this belief in scarcity. That if I'm going to give you what we're conditioned to think is that if I give you $20, that I'm now out $20. But if we give from the understanding that there's abundance, when I give $20 to you, I know that the universe is actually going to bring me that, let's say, if, and it doesn't necessarily work where it's $20 and $20, or it could be that I've given to you in one form, but that the universe is then going to provide for you in the form that you need. And so that's where we can believe in the idea of abundance to say that if I'm going to give you $20, I know that it's law that the universe is going to give it back to me in whatever form I need and tenfold. It's not even like in equal quantity, let's say, that if I give it to you in 20, I could receive, let's say, it in 40. So there isn't ever any loss, ever. There's never any loss, that in giving to others, it never means that there's less for us. And this is something that we have to get over, because we think that when we give to others, it means that we have less. But we have to
Right.
trust in the universe to know that when we have given to others, that the universe is going to compensate for that giving in giving to us in whatever way or form we might need.
Yes, I love that. I think that's so beautiful, and I love to realize that there's science behind that. But you know that more than I do. You've studied that side more than I have.
Now, when you said that you've traveled to all of these different places, was it, and I can imagine that you probably traveled to some world places that aren't considered, let's say, first world countries, where here we're so focused on the giving of material things that
Hmm.
that is our way that we might show our gratitude or appreciation for what other
Hmm.
people maybe have done for us. But I think what goes deeper is the actually giving of ourselves. That I don't know if you, maybe in some of the travels that you've been to where people don't have a lot of material things. So the giving actually shows up as the giving of themselves.
Hmm. Yes, no, it absolutely does. And so many countries have rich pockets and poor pockets, but some of the countries where I've traveled out in the rural areas, places like Eastern Turkey or Egypt or Morocco, where people are literally still tilling the fields with animals and very much living hand to mouth. So it's a very rough existence. They don't have dental care, they don't have health care. The animals don't have veterinary care. Like, it's a very tough world, and yet there is this human connection, the contagiousness of a smile, healthy contagiousness, right? That is absolutely crosses every border, which to me is the prime example of how happiness and joy cross all politics, all religions, all differences, any color of anybody's skin, it doesn't matter. Like, sharing that smile, feeling that contagious energy. And I've also found that even in those places, so many people are so incredibly generous, even though they don't have
Mhm.
much to give. They'll still offer to give you a piece of fruit. Or if you stop and talk to for a few minutes, they want to give you something. And I don't want them to give me anything, but it brings them joy, right? So
Yeah.
I share in it. I enter into it because yes, it really, in fact, there's a lot of reasons why Americans consume more antidepressants and opiates than any other country in the world. So, Americans in Western countries, um, is because we have really gotten ourselves distracted with material things and really
Mhm.
tied our happiness up into that. We don't have that spontaneous happiness. We don't give ourselves permission to just be comfortable and be joyful. Everything has an agenda and a plan and all about paying the bills. So I think sometimes we take these incredible gifts we have and these circumstances and we make it into something toxic when we could learn a lot from people who live simpler lives and actually have way more happiness than we do.
Yes, yes. I can appreciate that because I saw that in my grandparents, immigrants here to Canada, and very much about being able to share whatever they had to give to others. That
Mm,
they all
mhm,
relied on each other. There's this interdependence with each other that many of us here in North America don't have to
yeah.
rely on others for just survival, like the way that they did exchanging their goods for, because everybody was growing different things and in their farm and whatnot. And so,
Mhm,
yes, I can appreciate what you're saying. And that the beauty, I think, of even just the simple thing of giving a smile is that human connection, as you said. But it's that ability to see someone in that moment. And I think that, and I've heard Oprah talk about this as well, is that people just want to be seen. They just want to be acknowledged. And I feel like, I mean, there's even this experiment where you try to look at like three people in the eye and smile and just giving that away as a gift, and that in that experiment, and if you can get someone to smile back at you, that at first they kind of are like, who's this person smiling at me, but then they actually appreciate the smile, and that, as I think you said, that smile ends up being contagious, and that we all
mhm.
end up being happier just through the through the exchange of a smile.
Absolutely. In fact, that was just what I was going to say. So we were right in line with one another there. And that was that, yeah, it's so interesting that when we share a smile, in most cases, I mean, you can smile, like glance at someone and smile and kind of look away at the same time. But if you really share a genuine smile with someone, you have to connect with their
Mhm.
eyes. So it's actually less about the smile. The smile is saying, I'm friendly. And you don't have to worry, but it's actually looking people in the eyes. In our culture, we've really developed an avoidance. Like we try to just be really
Mhm.
private. We are afraid a lot and we don't just connect. And when you connect to the eyes of someone else, you just feel something. Something moves in your soul.
Mhm.
I learned from my friends in Germany, and I'm assuming in other countries as well. When you toast with a drink, like
Mhm.
if you're saying Prost, right? You have to look the other person directly in the eyes. And if you're a table of 10 people, you have to look at each person in the eyes. I was like, wow, that is so powerful because we just forget it really means something then because of that eye to eye connection. It really
Mhm.
is touching us. We have to be vulnerable enough to connect. And when you connect, you actually feel an energy. And most of us feel that energy and turn away because it makes us feel shy. But it's still
Mhm.
energy. You can use that in a variety of ways. So learning to connect. I'm also an actress, and one of the things you learn very on in acting is that eye to eye connection, where your teachers would make you stand for like 5 minutes and just look someone in the eye who's 2 feet from your face, and people just
Mhm.
have the most incredible breakdowns. They can't do it. They freak out and because they're so not used to it. But once you kind of get over that, you start to see something. They call the eyes the window of the soul, and it's so true.
Mhm.
So I just love that. I love that connecting.
Mhm. And what's interesting is that now with the masks that we have to wear, because I'm such a smiley person, I hate the fact that we can't see each other's smiles, and that
I
I
know.
I'm constantly smiling, and that I that people can't receive that, but then they're like, well, you can still kind of see it with the eyes. So it's when you were just saying what you were saying, it was like, yes, it's interesting that yeah, the smile is something so simple that you can give to somebody to say, I see you in this moment, I acknowledge you, but that now we're only restricted to the eyes
Right?
because of the mask.
Oh, I know. I know. I
And to
know.
try
But
to
you
smile.
yeah. And you still can see this when you're smiling, you can see it in the eyes in most people. Like, you kind of you cover your face, but you can kind of see the smile. And
Yeah.
I say we use it as a challenge to, since we can't smile as much, to smile, but use it as an opportunity to see people, to look in their
Mhm.
eyes, and we have other body language too. We remember like how you're open or your arms crossed or your hands by your sides. You can really express your intentions and your feeling in the room by your body language. Even if they can't see your nose and mouth, you can still smile. You can still engage people. And
Mhm.
and people really need it right now. People have become so isolated and so
Mhm.
lonely, and we didn't have enough, interaction, honestly, in my opinion, as humans, not heartfelt interaction before COVID. And now I think we need it more than
Mhm.
ever. There's a lot of people who want to be seen, who want to be heard, and we have an opportunity to tune that. Whether you're feeling joyful today or not, you can bring that to them, and boomerang, you're going to get some
Mhm.
back.
Yes, yes, which is amazing. So we have to remember that even in those moments when we may not feel like giving to somebody, that we have to remember that in the giving that we will end up receiving that it is just law. And research has shown that as well. So I wanted to just touch on a little bit about your book, Live for Joy.
Yes.
And so if you could, it it's a beautiful portrayal of joy. And so I want you, if you could tell us a little bit about how you've done that and how we may see this idea of happiness is giving in your book.
Yes. So when I wrote this book, I wanted to write a personal empowerment book that you could use and really take through your day, even if you only had a minute or 2 minutes to open it to read one page, which is partly why it's such a visual book. Very small original quotations by me, and then paired art and imagery, photography that speaks what the words are. They're very tightly bound. I spent months and months and months picking each one of these images myself because I wanted it to be a full experience. And it's not just about joy. There is obviously a whole chapter on joy. It's 285 pages and there's 12 chapters, but it's really a recipe for life. Um, Bringing to your attention all the different areas that you need, like whether that's encouragement, you could pick the encouragement chapter and go through that or go through one page of that. One of the things about what we're talking today is I think it's chapter 3, and it's called Be a Benevolent World Citizen, which is sort of like, isn't this a self empowerment book? But yes, because in giving happiness, you're receiving happiness. So, how can you be a more benevolent world citizen? A lot of this it's inspirational, but it's also philosophical, it's also thought provoking, it's also motivational. You know, what does that mean? It can be as simple as opening up, broadening your perspective, listening to someone else's point of view, realizing that things like art and nature and music tie us all together as human beings. It doesn't matter what your persuasions, your politics, your religion, or where you live, there are these bonds. And our givingness is what actually brings us joy. And not only are we contributing to the world around us, but we're receiving back. Um, and challenging several other, there's another whole chapter just on perspective, because I think, to be honest, a lot of our unhappiness comes from the perspectives we choose to hold on to. We tend to
Mhm.
have a point of view or a determination to be right over no matter what. And we're so busy clenching on to these principles that we're actually ruining our own lives and making ourselves unhappy. Doesn't mean you can't have a
Mhm.
point of view. It's more, how can you have a wider point of view? How can you breathe emotionally and let circulation of joy and happiness move through your life? And one of my other favorite chapters is the last chapter, actually, which I think is something we don't often talk about. And it's called Learn to Love the Endings. Learn to Love the Endings, which is every part of life is beautiful. And whether it's the end of a job or perfect health or a relationship or many other things, the endings can still be phenomenal and beautiful. And when we start accepting and embracing all the parts of our life and learning to find that happiness and joy in each part, we really start living. Even if we're not to an ending yet, then we really start living. So I think that definitely adds some perspective.
Yes, it sounds beautiful. Now, if people would like to connect with you after the show, how can they do that?
Sure. So they can connect with me on my website, which is annescotland.com. That's ANNESCOTTLIN, annescotland.com. And the book Live for Joy is on Barnes and Noble. It's on Amazon. You can check it out there. I make more money if you buy the digital version, but I highly encourage you to buy the hardcover because it's just a
Mhm.
special whole experience. Do I have time to share one very short quote, Teresa?
Yes,
All right, so
please.
here's just an example. Here's an example. So I'm just going to show you a picture. And the quote that goes with this picture is, gratitude and joy are ageless, even as time goes by. So this is
Mhm.
just learning to love the endings, right? Gratitude and joy. That's just one of the very short quotes, but it kind of gives you the feeling of embracing your happiness. So yes. And you can
Mhm.
also find me on
Mhm.
social media at Anne Scotland.
Yes, and embracing the happiness with others. That that's where it's all about. It's not about us just feeling happy by ourselves because to be to be honest, at the core of everything we do, at everything we do, we want to be happy. But how
Mhm.
happy is it that if you're doing everything you at the end you're standing there by yourself? Who are you
Yeah.
enjoying your happiness with?
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
really not. That it's happiness with others. And so I love that picture that you just shared because that's what came to mind when I saw it. So I just want to thank you
Yeah.
again for being on the show today and sharing your thoughts on happiness and why it's
Mhm.
important for us to give.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the tremendous work you do, Teresa. I'm so glad that we found each other, and I look forward to talking to you
Mhm.
again soon.
Thank you. Stay tuned as after the break, I'll be speaking with my guest, JM, as we dive deeper into why giving is important to our happiness. See you after the break.
6 years ago, when I started Solivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit solivity.com now. You can find all the Satana products at our Go shop on Solivity at go.solivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care, it is all there. At the Go shop, Go Shop Solivity.
Thank you for tuning in to Beauty and Gratitude with D'Angelo Thompson. That's me. We're going to focus on beauty from the inside out and gratitude being the cornerstone of your life. I will have amazing guests from all walks of life, from wellness experts to beauty, tech, fashion, you name it, they will be here. And we have amazing names coming up in the near future. So tune in every 2 weeks, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Solivity TV or Solivity Magazine. Thank each of you for watching and focus on life, focus on gratitude. Thank you.
Solivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing want to remind you about the importance of continuing to follow public health guidelines to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Please continue to wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Please visit these sites for further information about how to stay safe from COVID-19 into the new year. Remember, love protects us.
We work so hard sometimes. Isn't it time for a break? Take a walk or enjoy nature or maybe a leap or a ride or even a dip. Spending time with a friend or some time alone. Whatever it is, always spend time growing and learning with a Solivity Weekend. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Solivity TV.
Welcome back. I'm thrilled to introduce my next guest. He's an author, mindset coach, podcaster, and the CEO of Let's Go Win. J.M. Ryerson, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing today? I appreciate you having me on today.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us. Now, if we could start off with you sharing with us a little bit about the work that you do with your clients.
Yeah, so my company literally exists to inspire people to live their best lives. So, quite literally, I have a mission that will never be fulfilled, but I get to get out of bed and work with people on literally living their best life. And it's so fulfilling for me because it all started by I wrote my first book and it was for my kids. And these were lessons that I wanted them to have, not necessarily from me, but from my parents, grandparents, authors, mentors of mine. And it just has spun into this movement. It's kind of what I call our company. It's a movement because I believe everybody has the ability to win. I want them to win. And it's literally just setting yourself up to do it every single day. So, Teresa, I'm blessed. I mean, every single day I get to deal with people's dreams, aspirations, some of their challenges, and we get to find ways to overcome those challenges so that they can live their very best life. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think what you just said ties into the show perfectly because the happiness principle for today's show is happiness is giving. And that's exactly what you're doing, giving of yourself so that you can help others achieve what it is that they want to achieve for themselves in their lives. And so, what I wanted to do today was to talk to you about your philosophy, the Let's Go Win philosophy, and how it pertains to giving and why it's important for us to give and why it's important for us to give and why it's important for us to win, winning for ourselves and winning for others. So what can you tell us about your philosophy and how it ties into that?
Well, specifically with giving, there's a saying that I heard a long time ago, and it's called "givers gain," and that has stuck with me forever. Where it's like you shouldn't give in order to gain. That's not the reason that you should do it. But every time that you do give, you receive so much more, in my opinion. And so it kind of becomes something that's infectious. And you're like, oh my goodness, it feels good. I'm helping more people. And so, specific with Let's Go Win, that we donate back X% of everything made to charity. Now, that's by design because A, I want my kids to see that. That's a part of what we do. And B, I just believe in everyone around us being able to win. So, like losing, winning is also a habit. And so, everything I try to do is set up so that when you wake up, we're going to go, let's go win the day. Or on this interview, let's go win this interview. Let's give it our very, very best. That doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes or fail. In fact, I guarantee I'm going to fail. I fail all the time. I'm an awesome failure, but I get back up and I do it again and again and again. And I want people to realize that give yourself some grace. Know that in anything, whether it's a sport, a business, a relationship, you're not going to win every single day. That's not possible. I don't know anyone that's ever gone undefeated, but you do have the ability to set yourself up to win every single day. And so that's what I really the second book was all about is I wanted them to any of my clients or anybody that I influence to have tools at their disposal to get up and win the day, or let's go win at a relationship, or whatever you're trying to win at. I just want you to have tools so that you can perform at your very best, which then allows us to give back and give to others even more so than if we were struggling or not living our best lives.
Now, I from what I remember about our conversation, this you're very much of a sports guy as well. Now, in the arena of sports, though, there is that one team has to win and one team has to lose, and that your there is in that sense of competition that you're you want to win and you want the other people to lose. But you have done something with your philosophy where you've kind of I don't know if you flipped a little bit or you've kind of tweaked it a little bit so that there's an understanding that in that when we win everybody wins, or when they win everybody wins. So what was that again?
Yeah, it's just I believe that it's something that whether it's a habit, it's infectious. When people are winning, everyone around them has the ability to win. So you're right. In sports, traditionally, somebody wins, somebody loses. Now, it's also kind of how you look at it. It's like if I lose, some of my best learning moments happened in a loss. So let's say, for instance, in a relationship, I let's say the relationship didn't succeed and we're no longer together. What did I learn from that relationship so that I can be better in the next one? That's kind of the idea. But to your point specifically, I believe that when if Teresa's winning, then the people she's going to be affecting and influence, they're going to be winning, and it becomes this movement where everybody has the ability to win. And again, it's not about chalking up wins or losses every single day. It's just setting yourself up to do so. And so it anybody that's ever won anything, it's a good feeling and you want more of it. And so if we can get all of our neighbors around us to win. And I did it the other day with my neighbors for a business club. It was very easy. I was like, "Look, guys, I just want to support all of my neighbors in any way I can. So tell me what you do for a living and how can I support you? Because if my neighbors are winning, then more than likely I'm winning." And so the whole idea is just surrounding yourself with people with that same ideology that are looking to get better, to win, and to ultimately live their best lives.
So, JM, how can we get people to, because you're absolutely right. How can we get them to understand that it's in the winning of others that we also win? So, from a manager perspective or somebody that might be in a power position at work, there are many and that are in mentorship positions that don't understand this philosophy that you're saying, that they think that it's in the putting down of others that somehow it raises them. But that's not actually how it works, that it's in the raising of others do we raise ourselves, that it's in the helping of others to win that we actually win ourselves. So, and I know you do a lot of talks to CEOs and businesses and whatnot. So, what do you say around that for those people that are in those amazing positions to actually make a difference if only they understood that it was in that if they could help others win, the people that they're supposed to be mentoring and helping to support, that if they actually did that, that they would win themselves.
Yeah, it's a really good point because when I work with business leaders, when you're around someone that is empowering others, is not afraid for them to take over their role, that's when you found a great leader. Because when you're able to be that vulnerable and say, I believe in who I am, so much so that I want you to take my position. So that allows me to elevate to the next position, and I'm going to bring more people along with me. instead of thinking, oh, I have to secure my spot and keep these people down here. You'll see the shelf life of those leaders, it's not very long. And so if you can be secure in what they're doing, who they are, and empower others to really lift them up, you watch. These are the companies that continue to thrive in any
Mhm.
environment. And so I'm not saying it's easy, especially for somebody that's newer in leadership, because I think so often we have an idea of what it's supposed to look like. I'm supposed to act a certain way, sound a certain way. And the truth is, no, you were picked to be in that position because of who you are. So if you're able to be truly vulnerable and then allow others to rise up with you, you'll see how much better you succeed. And it is foreign to some, but once you get a taste of it, once you watch somebody else do something and their potential is reached, it becomes like this. It's almost like a something you have to feed again and again, because you get to watch other people achieve their dreams. I don't know anything better in this world than watching
Mhm.
other people do something they never thought they could do.
Yes, yes. And that's what's so empowering about like the work that we both do as coaches, that in helping others to succeed and to realize their potential and to be the people that they want to be in the world, how empowering that is for us, and how amazing it makes us feel when we see other people succeeding in their own goals. I totally agree with you. And I think it stems from the other way would stem from a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. And so there's that I want to touch on. And then I also want to touch on the understanding that really we're all one, that as a human collective, that when you actually help someone else to succeed, you're actually helping yourself to succeed, because we're all one. And that even in helping people like very close to us to succeed, that we don't have to do big and grandiose things. We don't have to travel to Africa and build schools or go wherever we have in order to make a difference, that we can make a really big difference just in the people close to us that we meet every single day, like even at the grocery store, when we're kind to others, that we're actually making, we don't even know the difference that we can make when we give of ourselves just a little bit to what difference it'll make in their life. So what do you think about that, about the scarcity and abundance mindset, and how that ties into this idea of giving?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest things I dig into with clients, because we all have self-limiting beliefs. At some point, we have either they've been given to us, we've adopted them. And I always ask the question, why do you think that way? Why do you think that it's lonely at the top? I hear that all the time. Why is it
Mhm.
lonely at the top? That's just something that you heard, whether it was from your parents or some leader along the way. That's just not true, in my opinion, and it doesn't have to be that way. But we kind of accept that, okay, there's only so much. And again, if you go back
Mhm.
to the Great Depression, for instance, that's where some of these mindsets started to take shape and form. And so then, as those grandparents, I guess it would be, or great grandparents, were, teaching their kids, oh, there's only so much, and you have to be really careful with how much that you have. I think that's where the scarcity mindset really evolved. And the
Mhm.
truth is, we live in one of the most abundant places in the world, in is the universe. We are meant to be abundant. We are not meant to have
Mhm.
scarcity. And so the more that people can realize that these are just ideas that have been passed along and they're flawed. There is no
Mhm.
reason that it's lonely at the top. In fact, when you get at whatever the top is, if you're bringing people along with you, it's not lonely at
Mhm.
all. In fact, it's awesome. And so the whole abundance and the scarcity thing, it is fascinating to really dig into people to say, why do you think that way? Well, and then you'll hear the history of where it came from. And you say, well, is that
Mhm.
your truth, or is that the people that taught you truth? And what you realize is it's typically something that's adopted,
Mhm.
some hardwires that were put into you at a very young age, and you can change those. That's the great news, is that if you have a scarcity mindset now, you can change it. You do have that choice to choose different, to choose abundance. And so it's something that I love working on, Teresa. It's one of my favorite things to talk about is
Mhm,
abundance. And it's
mhm,
part of my mantra I say every single day.
mhm. Because I think it is at the basis of whether you choose to give or not. Because if you know that you are giving because you're going to receive way more in abundance. So as soon as we started this interview, you said that, and I was like, yes, that if you want that when you give, it's law that you are going to receive that and so much more. That it's and I was saying this with my guest just before you that if you're giving $20, you think that you're out $20 because you don't understand that the universe is actually going to compensate you with $40 and not even 40 because you get it in whatever form that you need, but just to say that you're going to get it plus some. And so if there was this belief that like in the universe that everyone is always going to get what they need, that when you give, it never means less for you. This is the problem that people think that when I give, it means less for me. That if I help you in your business, if I help you get clients, if I help you get customers, then it means less customers for me. But it actually doesn't. That it means that if we are, again, if we understand and we have an abundant mindset, we know that me helping you to achieve your goals, that the universe is going to provide for me in whatever way that I need.
Yeah, and what's so interesting is often people are not challenged with giving; it's the receiving part. Now, here's where
Mm,
people can mess it up. If you're unable to receive, you are screwing the whole energy up of the universe. You have to be able to give and then also be open to receive. And that's something that, for me, again, we talk hardwires. I had to learn that myself because I had adopted hardwires, especially around money. I remember when I first made seven figures and thinking like, "Oh, that's awesome." I felt horrible. I felt like I didn't deserve it. I felt all these emotions, but the truth is it's just more that I could give and create other things and opportunities for people. But
mhm,
if I wasn't open to receiving, then the whole thing shuts down, and it's just fascinating. So to your point, if you
mhm,
give $20 and you're expecting to receive something, that's where you're messing it up. I'm not saying to expect. However, be willing to give, and then as things come to you, be open to receiving them. But it is pretty interesting to see how much people struggle with
mhm,
that idea of receiving because they're not worthy. They think some string is attached to it. No, it's just a universe saying you're giving and receiving, and if it's out of balance, the whole thing stops and it doesn't work well.
mhm. Yes, that's right. That there is a flow there. That if we don't leave ourselves open to receive what needs to come to us, then we can't in turn uh, keep that flow going and to be able to give. And that I love that you because I'd forgotten about that. But that's exactly right. That we have to make sure that we're always keeping that pipeline free that of giving and receiving and feeling like that and understanding that we are deserving of it and worthy of what the universe is providing for us in whatever way we might need to do that. JM, in your again with the Let's Go Win, and I you also you talk um, about the winning and winning for all. And would there be anything else that you would say that ties into that philosophy about the winning and winning for all?
Well, here's what I would say. I want people to ask what do they want, and then why. And then if that why is bigger than themselves, they'll go get it. So, for instance, I want to go back just for a second on this receiving thing because I want to tie this in so people really understand it. So, let's say I meet Teresa on the street and I say, "You know what? You look absolutely radiant and beautiful today." And she says, "Oh no, no, thank you." And she's real humble. If you do that, you're actually discounting what I'm saying to you. So I'm trying to give a compliment. It's how I felt, and I was vulnerable enough to say it to this person. And if they discount that, now they're actually being extremely selfish. So when it comes to this whole philosophy of let's go win and the movement, as I call it, it's all that idea. It's being And I started the first chapter of the book is being vulnerable because I love when I can see somebody be their authentic self. When they truly are able to show up in the world and they are not worried if they have to look or sound or put on a mask, is what I call it, because that masks are meant for parties. They are not meant for everyday life.
Mhm.
You are supposed to be your authentic self. You are literally supposed to walk through this world truly as you are and be embraced in who you are instead of pretending and spending all the energy on trying to look a certain way that's not you. So when it comes to Let's Go Win, that's one of the biggest things we work on with clients or anyone I influence is I want you to know who you are, know that it's good, it's great, and show the world. And it just becomes easier. It's less energy that you have to spend. People will receive you better than if you're trying to look a certain way. So I hope that makes sense to your question, but being
Mhm.
truly yourself and being able to show up that way, if you ever experience that, you know how freeing that is. Well, imagine doing that every single day in every moment of the day. If you could just be you, how easy is that? And so that's what's remarkable when you can see somebody's light shine through and they're smiling. And again, they are radiant, they are beautiful. That's their true authentic self. That's not, you know, how they look on the outside. You see it coming from the inside. And so that's really what we work on with Let's Go In. And here's what's interesting. When I work with clients, something that has happened with my single clients within less than a year, and typically it's within like 90 days, they find the love of their life. And it's fascinating. I had to go back and look at all my clients, say, I like to review what I did with them. And I found this trend. I was like, holy cow, I didn't mean to work on the relationship. That wasn't why they hired me. They hired me for typically professional reasons, but then their relationship with their child was better. Or again, if they're single, they found the love of their life. I can't tell you how many more weddings I'm having to attend now. And I was like, I thought those days were gone. I'm 43 now. No, that was like during my 30s, that I was going to all these weddings. It's shifted because their true authentic self is able to come out and they find that other person, that soulmate, that they were maybe didn't realize they were looking for. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, but it's so much fun to work with people on it.
JM, thank you so much for being on the show today. If people would like to connect with you, how can they do that?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Letsgowin.com is my website. There's free, worksheets there. There's the blogs. Let's Go Win 365 on any of the social media platforms. And yeah, just any of those places would be the best to reach me at. If you want the books, go to Amazon. But I love hearing from people. And whether you think I'm full of it or you want more, cool. I love interacting with human beings because I learn and get better every single day when I talk to
Mhm.
others, and I love to get their perspective. So I really appreciate you having me. This was a great time.
Thank you. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate all of your insight around your Let's Go Win philosophy and why it's important for us to give of ourselves because it really gives to us in so many amazing ways.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and thank you for having me on. We had a great conversation off air as well, and I love what you're doing. Keep up the great work. You're helping so many people, and it's remarkable, and I love watching it.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Solivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
I'm going to leave you with the thought for the day. A powerful way to boost our happiness is to do kind things for others. Something as simple as a smile or a compliment is a small gesture that can make a difference to the person receiving it. When we give our time and complete attention to others, this can sometimes mean more to them than a material gift. Things like helping a neighbor by mowing their lawn, helping a friend with their move, or volunteering to bring hot meals to people in need are ways that we can give of ourselves rather than financial gifts. Caring gestures such as these help us to connect with others, which is one of our basic human needs, relatedness. When we relate to, connect, and feel significant to others, we experience warmth, bonding, and care. The reciprocal nature of giving and receiving is also understandable from a spiritual perspective. As spiritual beings having a human experience, we are here to be love, but also to give love. Just as Source loves us unconditionally, when we help others, we are sharing our love with others. This love is seen as in kindness acts such as holding a door open for someone, being appreciative when someone shows us care, and time spent listening to someone who needs a confidant. The happiness we feel when we give of ourselves is experienced because we recognize that helping the other is actually helping ourselves. We are all one. When we give to others, we are also giving to ourselves at the same time. Although each of us may look different on the outside, on the inside, we are all part of the same universe, made of the same stardust. We are love and happiness at our core, and helping others is just an extension of who we really are. Thank you for joining me today on the Steps to Happiness show, and I look forward to being with you again next week.
To connect with Teresa Greco after the show for coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements, you can visit her website at teresagreco.ca or by email at stepstotruehappiness@gmail.com or follow her on Instagram at TeresaGreco_Steps to Happiness or on Facebook at Steps to True Happiness with Teresa Greco.